Good morning, Bill. Greg's up in Vermont. How are you today?
Hey, Curtis, I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
We're doing well. So rough one last weekend. 1-7 on the road, 7-1 at home since you took over. What's been, if you had one or two reasons, why do you think you guys are struggling away from Chestnut Hill?
Yeah, I think it's one big reason is that, when we're on the road, first of all, we make too many what I call catastrophic mistakes, whether it's a fumble snap or an interception or, something breakdown on defense, and we let it snowball. And we've got to figure that out, because our games on the road, obviously most of them, really all of them have been close games. And, that's what it comes down to. At home, we obviously play better. And we're at home, coming up against Cal, but we have to figure out the road, and we're working hard to try to figure it out.
Bill, after the game, you made a point to make it an emphasis that you guys need to do a better job coaching, and that starts with you. Going into a week where it's a bye week, what have you implemented? How do you make that a point to get better coaching out of your staff, out of yourself for these players?
Well, the first thing we did was we sat in a team meeting, and I showed them the whole tape, every single play of the Stanford game. And, I think it's important for the head coach to get up there in front of them and tell them, like, hey, man, look, this is what we're looking for. We've got to, make a better call here, but here you have to execute better. We have to – I think the key to my role is to making sure that these guys know that we're all in it together, that there's no finger pointing. And Courtney, I know it doesn't look like this. I really understand that. I've been doing this a long time, but we're very close. We're close to being what we want to be, but we have to stop with a couple, whether it's, poor coaching decisions or the mistakes that we make, on the field. And so I think it's important to just show them, teach them, think about, what we can do to make it better. We had two really good practices where, we scrimmaged and guys showed up ready to go. We have a bunch of great guys, and I believe that we'll turn it around.
Well, Bill, I hope you know this. I hope your players know this. As somebody who's been a fan of BC football for quite some time, it does appear that way. Like, I think that's why these games are so heartbreaking for BC fans right now, is because we see how close you guys are. Whether it was last week or the week before, those are winnable games, and you're so close to it. And I think last week in particular, it's even harder, and I'm sure it's hard for you and the players when it comes to ACC matchups. You've got a bye week now and then another ACC matchup, because those are the games that you really want to capitalize on.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, I appreciate you saying that. I just know that, we make we just give you a couple examples. We're driving the ball. We're going in to possibly go up 24-6. We have a bad snap. We give it back to Stanford. Then we're driving the ball again. We get it all the way down to the 1 yard line. We fumble the ball into the end zone. These are these things really don't happen that much in practice. So why do they happen in games? And we have to figure that out, and not, it's not a yelling and screaming thing. It's just, hey man, look, we got to focus on one play at a time. We have to think about, hey, look, get this call, execute that call, and that's what we're trying to do.
Bill, when you look at your offense, obviously you guys, I think you lead the nation in passing yards per game, but one area where it seems like you've been struggling all season long is rushing the football. What's been the biggest difference from last year to this year that is kind of led you in that direction, knowing that you're a team that has run the football well in the past?
Yeah, we're very inconsistent in the running game. You're exactly right. There's certain schemes that we run really, really well. And so when we run those, this is kind of going back to the coaching part of it, myself, starting with me, we have to do what we do well. This team does some things better than last year's team and vice versa. So we have to do what we do well. And I think if we can really, understand that, and I think we do now, having spent a lot of time on this in the last few days here, we'll be able to run the ball better. But it's been a lot of different things. Teams are they're loading the box. They're taking it away from us. A lot of movement. We play too much what I call wad ball, where we stuff everybody in there, and it's like a rugby scrum. And we gotta figure that out. And I think we're on the right track with figuring that out and helping our players. And so I think it'll improve. I really do.
Billy, been a lot of talk across the NFL recently about how long should a top draft pick have at the quarterback position before you can make a judgment on them. Colin Cowherd had a theory that, Thanksgiving in your second year. Do you have any sort of given your expertise coaching quarterbacks in the NFL, how long a rookie top pick needs to be ready to go and performing in the NFL?
I think there's so much that goes into developing a young quarterback in the NFL. The first thing you have to do, it's very difficult, and you have to find the right people to do this. And obviously the Patriots have, with Josh and that offensive staff, they've got the right people. But, you have to teach them, obviously, your system. You have to teach them NFL defensive philosophies because it's totally different than college. You have to teach them how to prepare, how to watch film, what they're looking for. I equate it to going to law school, right? They always say the first couple of years of law school is brutal, and then it gets a little bit better in the third year. I don't know if you can put a time limit on it, because I also think it has to do with who's surrounding the guy. Like, does the guy have an offensive line? Does the guy have guys he can throw to, right? You're trying to build the team around him. What's the defense like? I mean, there's so much that goes into it, but you have to give the guy time, to think that you're going to develop a guy in 6 months or a year, and all of a sudden this guy's going to turn in. I mean, the greatest example of all time, we saw it, right? Tom came in, he didn't play at all his first year, and then the second year, obviously everybody knows Drew got hurt, and he was prepared. He had put so much time into it, but it was very simple, right? They kept it simple for him, and he was able to execute, and they played really well on defense, and they had a lot of veteran players, and, it was the perfect storm. But it takes time. It takes a lot of time.
Yeah, and he had a great tight end that really showed him the way in Wiggy.
Absolutely.
Bill,
Absolutely.
One of the things, even Tom's talked about this, is just with the quarterback position of these guys in college not being prepared because they don't even huddle. They look to the sidelines, and it's almost like everybody's being told what to do. But then when you get to the league, the quarterback is basically, the captain of the ship. He has to give the play in the huddle. Is there a difference? Because I think you would know better than anybody coaching in the league and coaching in college. Is the college game a little bit more, I don't want to use the word dumbed down, like you're not smart, but where it's more of the coaches telling you what to do offensively versus the league where you have to understand what you're doing as the quarterback and what everybody's assignments are?
I think I would pretty much agree with that. I would say that, there's less time to spend with the quarterback in college, right? Meaning this, the guy's got 5 classes, you know what I mean? So he's got to go to class. And so, but I do think it's the philosophy of each school. Like, for instance, when I went to Penn State and I came straight from the Patriots to Penn State. And when I went there, I was amazed, 4-3 defense, who's the Mike? And the quarterbacks are like, what are you talking about? 3-4 defense, who's the Sam? They're like, what are you talking about? What's cover 3? What's cover 4? So you had to teach them not only your system, but what is going on defensively. That's the key, to understand how your system, how your formation, your personnel, your motion affects the defense. What is the defense doing? Do you understand defensive football? I always said that when I started coaching Tom could coach the secondary. He could go over there and coach the secondary. He would line them up in the scout team. He's like, no, you should be in this leverage. You should be over here. And so I think that comes from a ton of preparation and a ton of studying and seeing film and studying the playbook. And it takes time. It takes a lot of time.
All right, Billy. Well, thanks so much for your time. As always, I hope you can sit back and watch a little football this weekend before next week in the Cal Bears at Alumni Stadium.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. That's Billy O'Brien here on the Greg Hill Show without Greg Hill.